Picture 9. Return to the origin, back to the source. Originally immaculate, without a speck of dust, watching appearances come and go, you reside in the serenity of non-doing. But this is not the same as illusion, so why cling to it? The rivers are blue, the mountains green. Sit and watch them rise and pass away. You returned to the origin, went back to the source. Such wasted effort. How much better to just be blind and deaf? From inside your hut, you don't see outside your hut. Let the streams just flow on. The flowers just bloom red. The Dharma way, no traces. On the original mountain, the pines are green, the flowers glint with dew. In this, the 9th picture, we return to the origin, go back to the source. In Zen, what do we take as the fundamental nature of the universe? It is the ox and self, both forgotten. Here there is neither self nor ox, only the one perfect circle. Within the pure, immaculate heart-mind, in which there is nothing, there is no distinction between self and the world. There are thus no intellectual obstructions or problems about the fundamental nature of the universe, its purpose, and so on. For us, What is fundamental is that place where the mind without things dissolves into the world. That place where time and space have been transcended, where self and the world have become one. That is what is fundamental. This is what is meant by the Zen saying, "There is not one thing," is an infinite storehouse, with flowers, the moon, and tall towers. In the heart-mind, there is nothing. But the heart-mind is identical with, not the least bit separate from, the universe that contains all and everything. What we realize in Satori is this, which is fundamental, immovable, eternal in us. The fundamental does not move or change with our experience. Satori brings us to a realization of this absolutely immovable. Intellectual thinking tells us that we have to believe in the existence of God because it is God who created the universe, does it not? But Zen is not this kind of cosmology, nor is it the kind of logic chopping that says, no matter what the universe is made of, still is something, isn't it? Neither is it the baseless idealism, which simply asserts that it is mind which creates things. Nor are we merely offering the explanation that the substance of the universe is the Dharma world of true thusness. That place where immaculate mind, without thought, is completely identical with the universe and all its myriad things. Nothing other than this can be considered as absolute ground. Returning to this place is what is meant by return to the origin, back to the source. originally immaculate, without a speck of dust. That stainless, immaculate place where inside and outside are fused into one, where heaven and earth are identical with self. That place is fundamentally stainless, collecting not a speck of dust. As the sixth patriarch said, originally there is not one thing. Where then is there a place for dust to collect? This is the purity of looking at a flower, when flower and self have become one. If you face the flower and say, "It's pretty," then dust collects. If you think, "There it is," then dust collects. If you think, "Someone grew this flower," then dust collects. The flower, just the flower, the oneness of the utterly thoughtless flower with the self. That is the place that gathers no dust. Watching appearances come and go, you reside in the serenity of non-doing. Appearances come and go refers to change in the objective world of material form. The serenity of non-doing refers to that state when consciousness is as transparent as a finely polished mirror. This verse can be read in reverse order as well. That is, residing in the serenity of non-doing, you watch appearances come and go. With a mind like an empty mirror, without calculation or discrimination, you see the ever-changing world pass by just as it is. When one can serenely view the world without stumbling over it, or without being caught by it, then there is neither good nor bad, neither gain or loss, neither pleasure nor pain. One merely reflects the appearance of things of the world, just as a mirror reflects objects. But this is not the same as illusion. So why cling to it? The Sutras teaches us that our world is like a fantasy, like a dream, like a bubble, like a drop of dew. The world we live in is truly a world of impermanence, constantly changing and shifting, modifying and altering itself with each moment. There is nothing that really exists. In this sense, to look at the world is to conjure up a vision. But if one has truly opened the eye of Satori, then this world of impermanence, just as it is the world of Buddha. That is the meaning of, but this is not the same as illusion. Thus, why cling to it? The world just as it is, without improvements or amendments or corrections, is the world of the Buddha. Seen with the open eye of Satori, the entire world of birth, old age, sickness and death is true reality. Ryokan says, when you are sick, to be sick is fine. In times of disasters, to encounter disaster is fine. At death, to die is fine. The world of impermanence, when seen in Satori, is true reality as it is. The rivers are blue, the mountains green. Sit and watch them rise and pass away. The rivers and streams are blue, the hills and mountains are green. The world, just as it is the absolute, our original abode. Look at the world as it is and see it as it is. It is not just that you see it as it is. You see everything as beautiful, as true reality. To open your eyes in this way is to return to the origin, to go back to the source. Perhaps you have been longing for many years to actually go and see one of those beauty spots of the world you've long heard about. Then finally you go and see, only to discover that the so-called beauty spot of the world is nothing worth mentioning. When you have gained Satori, then the world we live in, just as it is the Pure Land, is heaven. After Satori is the same as before Satori. After Satori, you are the same as you were before Satori. Just as you are is fine. You are saved just as you are. This very place is the lotus land of purity. This very body is the body of Buddha. You returned to the origin, went back to the source. Such wasted effort. In order to return to the origin, go back to the source, you had to exert yourself to the utmost. You left home to search for the ox. You spotted its tracks, caught a glimpse of it, and finally caught it. After finally taming and training it, you rode it back home. But then you completely forgot about the ox, forgot the self, and ended up right back where you started. On reflection, it looks as though you went to a lot of unnecessary trouble. All that work for nothing. This here now, just as it is. If this is your goal, then you did not have to put yourself through such great trials searching for the ox. If just this was your goal, then there was no necessity for you to enter a temple and eat monastery gruel. How much better to just be blind and deaf? If you have gone to all that trouble and then finally discovered that things are all right, just as they are, then it wasn't necessary for you to have tortured yourself in discipline and practice. Right from the start, you should have been just like the blind or deaf. You trip up because you get hooked by external things, get stuck on all those things that fill your thoughts. But if you can be like the blind, who do not get caught up on sights because they cannot see them, like the deaf, who do not get caught up on sounds because they cannot hear them, then there is no need for discipline and practice. Is that not so? Fundamentally, the heart-mind you possess has remained as pure and unstained as it was at birth. Since all you have to do is to return to this thoughtless heart-mind, there should be no necessity to engage in discipline and practice. From inside your hut, you don't see outside your hut. Let the streams just flow on. The flowers just bloom red. If you are inside a house with the windows closed, then you cannot see what is outside. You have 6 windows called the 6 senses: the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and consciousness. But when they are all closed, and you are not thinking of anything, when your mind has become like a mirror, this is the place of fundamental purity. Now, from this place with no things, if you open the windows and look out, then the river itself is broad. Flowers themselves are red. If you look inside your own mind, there is nothing there. When that mind with no things destroys the shell of no seeing, no hearing, no thinking, and you realize that it is one with the outside world, then true reality lies in the natural world as it is. The world where the river itself is broad and flowers themselves are red. This is the world of return to the origin, back to the source. It is just exactly the reverse of the previous stage of the empty circle of completion. If the reverse side is the empty circle, then the front side is return to the origin, where plum flowers bloom and rivers flow. They are like front and back, yet they are one. The Dharma way, no traces. On the original mountain, the pines are green, the flowers glint with dew. The flying bird leaves no footprint, no traces of any kind. In like fashion, the Buddha Dharma leaves no trace behind. The Buddha Dharma is not the Buddha Dharma. That is why it is called the Buddha Dharma. That is the sort of thing the Dharma is. In the Buddha Dharma, there are no rules or obligations that say you must believe in this, or that you must worship this Buddha, or you must uphold this or that. All you need do is understand your own original heart and mind. This is the Buddha Dharma. In the Buddha Dharma, there are no traces. With that mind without traces, if you look back on the mountains from which you came, you see that the pines are green and the flowers are red. When you realize that the mind contains no thing, that it is from the beginning immaculate, without a speck of dust, then your original mountain home, just as it is reality. This self, just as it is Buddha. The pines are green and the flowers are red. This very place is the lotus land of purity. This very body is the body of Buddha.